Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to build and grow a thriving practice without spending all day on social media. Today, I want to cover that most often asked question I get when it comes to marketing a private practice. It all relates to time, how much time to be spending on social media and marketing in general. The reason I get asked this question is it's always something folks want to know because they often feel like their marketing is a waste of time. We're going to talk about time, and in particular, we're going to discuss how much time is that ideal amount when it comes to marketing. We talk about time and being efficient with marketing a lot in my Thrive Marketing Academy, since most of the members there are trying to be more efficient and get better results than they were before with their marketing. So as we dive into this question, I actually want to start by asking you a question. Do you ever find yourself staring at your screen on your phone or on your computer and wondering how long you've been scrolling through your social media feed and thinking that you should have been posting some of your marketing content because that's why you went to social media in the first place? Maybe you're feeling a little guilty because you have no idea how long you've been sucked into this time warp of Instagram stories and reels, just scrolling. Trust me, we have all been there. I've done it too. And those systems, those social media channels know it. It's one reason why TikTok has a setting where you get a warning that you need to enter a password to continue viewing videos because you've been viewing longer than your allotted time, which is something you can set on your account, by the way. And if this lost time is time you were supposed to be doing the marketing for your practice, then you really might have a problem here. But it's a problem many folks have. You're definitely not the first person, nor will you be the last to experience getting lost down that rabbit hole of social media. I often refer to this as being in the stage of marketing we call stuck in the endless cycle of marketing. This is typically where you're creating a ton of marketing content, reels, posts, carousel pictures, videos, tips, informational posts. The list goes on and on. You're into everything people say to do. You're trying posting reels. You're trying trending videos. Then you're making more videos on Facebook and more reels. And you're putting those pieces of content to get them out there. You go online to make that happen. But then when you get online, instead of doing what you came there for in the first place, you lose focus. And it is so easy to get lost on those social media channels. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they all know their stuff. And they have those notifications and pop-ups trying to get your attention that someone, somewhere, posted something that you should look at. So you do. And then you see something else, and then another post and another. And in the middle of it, you might remember to go back and put what you came to do there in the first place online. But then you see another notification and off you go. Well, there you have it. That really is one way a lot of practice and business owners get lost online. And the worst part, all this time that you're spending on social media, it is typically getting you more tired from doing it than it is getting you clients. And this is the way you end up sabotaging yourself when it comes to marketing and being effective. Now, here's the thing. I don't want you to be tired from social media, scrolling aimlessly, getting lost. I want you to get clients, and I want to ensure that time you are spending online pays off with results. So let's look at some ways that you can combat this time suck of social media, and I'm going to share with you some of my best advice on how much time you should be spending on your marketing. And I'll let you know why I tell people that when you do this effectively, well, that's how you can get to that place where you're spending just 15 minutes a day on social media. And that's only if you actually need to even be spending that much time there. So let's dive into this lesson on how you can spend your time more efficiently and effectively when it comes to marketing. Now, here's the thing. You might not like my answer here, but one of the main reasons why you are spending more time on marketing and social media in particular is generally because you don't have an effective marketing plan that gives you the guidance of what you should be doing with your time, what you do, where you post, how often you post, what you're doing with your marketing content, and the activities you need to do for marketing as well. Because it's not all about content, it's about doing networking and connecting with people and referral partners too. And these are all questions people ask themselves. It's not just you. People are never sure if they're spending too much or too little time on their marketing. So let's talk about what the ideal amount of time is that you could spend on your marketing. Because, like many of the dietitians I've worked with over the years, there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad here. Let's not label time as good or bad because it's not always the best label to use for anything, really. So, what's the answer then to how much time should you be spending on social media and your marketing? Well, like food and nutrition, sometimes the best answer is actually it depends. And it really does depend. It depends on your practice, it depends on your services, your goals, your marketing foundations, your business foundations, your ideal client. And most of all, it depends on your purpose for using social media and doing your marketing in the first place. All of these items will factor into your ideal amount of time to be spending on marketing. And it does vary for everyone. But the goal that I have with my clients and members in the Thrive Marketing Academy is to share with them tactics and strategies for spending as little time as possible on marketing and social media, but in a way that gets you the results that you're looking for out of the time that you do spend. And I know there are lots of folks out there spending hours a day on social media and getting sales, but that's often because their business model fits this whole setup and situation. That's not the case for everyone. If you're not looking to be an influencer and be on Instagram all day and doing reels and trending videos, you don't necessarily have to be doing that. And honestly, I tell folks a lot of the time that being on social media all day long is not the ideal way to market a practice or a business. Most of the practice owners I work with are selling one-on-one services, and sometimes they have group programs too. And this means you've got to be working with those folks in order to make your revenue. So you're not going to make money spending time on social media. You've got to be billing clients, spending your time working with them. That's where you generate your revenue. So again, it's not to say that you never use social media, but you've got to be strategic about how you use it and how much time you spend online. The same way you want to be strategic about the time you spend offline marketing your practice as well. It's all set up, and the best way to be effective with both online and offline marketing is to have a goal and a purpose for everything that you're doing. The practice owners and clients I've worked with over the years have typically had and built a stable business and a client flow. Many of them got to a point where they were growing and had wait lists, and they moved into group practices and hiring team members. The one thing that I will tell you that they were not doing is spending most of their time every day on social media. They spend their days either working with clients or running the business, doing activities like the administration that's needed to run the practice, the client paperwork, the follow-up, the connections with other providers who are working with your clients, planning and doing the online and offline marketing. And then the last thing they do is typically spend some time on social media, like maybe 15 minutes a day. And for most of them, they're not always active every day. So why aren't they online more? Why aren't they active on social media when you hear that that's what some of the gurus are telling you to do? Well, for starters, they understand that their clients are not typically going to Instagram or Facebook to find a practitioner to help them. You know where they go? They typically go to a search engine like Google, or they go and ask the practitioners that are involved in their care, or they talk to family or friends in their lives. And then if they find someone, typically to find them, if they haven't been given the direct information, they may go Google them online to find a way to reach out and talk to them and connect with them. They might even go check out your social media online. And that is where it does come into play. It's one of the reasons why I do social media audits with my members in the Thrive Marketing Academy, so that we can make sure if somebody does check you out on social media, they know exactly how to reach you and how to book a consult or get started working with you. That's where social media comes into play, more for engaging with people who've already heard about you or who are actively talking to you and they want to find out more about you. They're checking you out. That's what they're typically looking for versus finding somebody new to work with. There's not a lot of folks that will go to Facebook or Instagram and search for someone like you. They might talk to friends or get in groups and talk about it, but they're typically getting a referral. So when we talk about spending those 15 minutes a day on social media, the time we're talking about here is more spent engaging with people, not chasing down clients. The clients that I work with aren't using this time to post about their lead magnets or to share their tip of the day or an informational video or post. They are spending those 15 minutes connecting and engaging and talking to people online. And the reason they can do this is because they've made a plan and they've connected their 4 pillars of marketing into their plans for their practice or their business. Now, we've talked about these 4 pillars before: foundations, messaging, content, and systems. These pillars are your plan, and they help you plan and guide you with all your marketing. Or they should, at least if you want to be effective with it. I find it very challenging to have an effective plan in place when you miss one of these critical pillars. If you've got your foundations and your content down and your systems working, but your messaging is off, whatever you do or say isn't going to be reaching those people that you're looking to reach there. This is why it's important to plan those pillars into everything you do with your marketing and content planning. Most of my clients and students, once they've either gone through the training or worked with me one-on-one, they have learned how to optimize their foundations so that social media works more effectively too. They've clarified their messaging and they know who they help, what problem they help those people solve, and what transformations their clients get by working with them. And all of their marketing content speaks to this. Then they also have developed a marketing system that helps them do their marketing in as little time as possible. The plan and all of the systems and the pillars work together to make sure all of this is happening. And that's the goal here that we're always looking at. The end goal is having them create as little content as possible for their marketing, but getting results from what they're doing. The Thrive Marketing method I teach is all about connecting these 4 pillars and having them working together so that you can make that a reality for you. This method shows people how you can actually do less marketing and get improved results, which means you have more time to get that revenue generating in your practice or your business. So typically when you follow along with this Thrive Marketing method and integrate these 4 pillars in your marketing, that's where you can look at following the time guidelines that I teach as well, so that you can learn and understand where you should be spending your time on marketing, and that includes social media. Now, each practice owner will vary on what they should be doing with their marketing depending on their specific services and the goals they've got set in place, as well as thinking about what are your boundaries when it comes to your business or your practice and your marketing. All of this factors into your plan of what you should be doing for your marketing and the time you should be spending as well. So what we're going to talk about here is a recommendation that I typically have when we look at someone who might be creating a monthly newsletter and a monthly blog, okay? So what we're going to look at here is ideas of the ideal amount of time that you could spend on marketing and social media based on that once a month newsletter. Now, we do start with this one main article you're going to create, but I want to talk about something before we get into this first. The first thing you have to do is you have to decide and set a schedule for how often you plan to put that article out there. How often are you going to send a newsletter and post a blog? This is critical, and this schedule will actually drive everything in your marketing planner. So one thing to remember, that article that when you start creating it consistently, It should be your anchor content. When we talk about anchor content, this is the main article that you publish for each system and cycle here in your schedule that you publish on your website. So it's like a blog post. It's going on the website. So you take that article, publish it as a blog. If you're someone that happens to have a podcast, then it's the same idea, because a blog and a podcast are very similar. They're types of information that you have, that article, that main content that you create on a consistent basis. But here's the thing, and this is the driving kicker in the Thrive Marketing Method. That article that you're going to publish on your website, your anchor content, that same article becomes the basis for your newsletter content too. They are one and the same. And this is something people tend to do separately. Put a newsletter out, put a blog out, and they create two pieces of content. And that really can be a challenge, because that's one of the first steps in you actually creating too much marketing content. Okay. If this is new to you or even a little confusing, my talking about anchor content, be sure to check out a blog that I have on my website called The 2 Types of Marketing Content You Need to Attract Clients. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, and it will explain that a little bit more about this anchor content and why you should not be putting one article in your newsletter and one article on your blog, okay? They need to be the same piece of content. That is the main driver in you saving time with your marketing. So as part of your plan, you're going to publish that one article in the 2 different areas: on the blog, where it serves its purpose as your anchor content, which is content the search engines can find on your website and content people searching online can find as well. The goal of this content is to bring you more traffic to your website, and from that traffic, you get new leads into your practice and even clients. You do this by planning calls to action in that content that you put on your website. This same article that you put on your blog, you're also going to publish it with a few changes, of course, for putting it into a newsletter. So you're going to put it out there as a newsletter as well. And it is going to go that way out to the people who are already on your email list. You have their names and email already. So your goal here is not to create them into a lead with your business. You have them as a lead already. Your goal with this newsletter and the article content you've got here is to nurture the people on the email list, to give them good and valuable information so they know you can help them solve their problems. This is where you build that know, like, and trust factor. Now, here comes a large part of the Thrive Marketing Method I teach. From that same article, that one article that you put on your blog and you're going to send in your newsletter as well, you can create almost all of the social media content you're going to need for this next cycle until you have your next article ready. And yes, I do mean almost all of it. You can create tips and information for posting online. You can create some promotional posts to encourage people to read the article on your blog. You can create some engaging posts to get people talking and commenting back to you online. You can even create a couple of short videos talking about the same topic and the content that you have in the article, sharing some of those tips that you put in the article via a short video like an Instagram reel or a TikTok video. Once you have all of this content created, the article written, and the content for social media from that article, and you've made sure you've created enough to keep you active until your next article in this cycle, then you'll want to plan some time to not only create it and create the images, but schedule some of it online as well. And the last thing in this content creation Thrive marketing method that I teach that you're going to do is to block some time, whatever time that you're going to want to be active and show up online. So you're going to have to make a decision about when, where, and how you want to be live and connecting and networking online. And that honestly is where the magic happens. This is what I call persona content. It's you engaging and connecting with people. It's not you promoting an event or a sale or a service or a program or your lead magnet. It is content that is you, the real you and only you, talking and connecting with people online. You're going to do this, and it helps you fill in the blanks of that pre-planned and scheduled content by getting out there and engaging with the community you've built in your social media channel. Now, when you're strategic about doing this, this is what is going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to help you get to the place where you spend just 15 minutes online on social media. And by the way, I should mention here, when I talk about going online and spending 15 minutes, I actually do use a timer for this. I have a timer, a little clock here. I set it over to 15 minutes. And when my 15 minutes is up, it beeps and yells at me so that I don't get lost and I don't forget to do the things that are important here. I try to make sure that if I'm going to go online and engage and connect, I just spend the 15 minutes doing that. This scenario about doing this entire content creation system with the one article is really the basis for how much time you should spend on your marketing. But you have to understand it really does work together like an assembly line. That's how I like to do a lot of my marketing in the assembly line method, I call it. So there are different activities in the scenario above that you want to factor into your plans of when and where you complete those activities and move on to the next one. And these are the activities that I recommend in my ideal content distribution schedule. So these are different aspects that you want to block time to do together. And then some of them you're going to do at different times. And this is what helps you be as efficient as possible with your marketing. So here's how it works. There are 5 main categories of activities in the method that I talk about of block and batch planning. So this is part of the ideal content distribution schedule that I like to create with people. The block time and batch plan is all about helping you block the time to create a batch of content or do a batch of similar activities in the same block of time. This is what's going to help you develop that ideal content distribution schedule here. And it comes down to 5 main categories of marketing content and distribution activities. The first category is creating your content and organizing it. So this is where you're writing the article and creating the content for it. The second category is creating images and videos and organizing them. The third one is content distribution. So this is where you actually schedule and plan to get your content out online. The fourth category here is community building and engaging. And the fifth category is tracking and review so that you can optimize what you're doing. If you don't do number 5, I will tell you right now, you'll never learn if anything's working. So it is really important that you do that as well. So from doing this kind of support work with my clients over the last 14 years, I really have the time down to a science on how much time social media marketing and online marketing activities should take someone to do. So some of these things will take time to build up and practice to get to that place. So here's an ideal content distribution schedule that is helped out by following this block time and batch plan, what you're doing. This schedule that we're going to talk about here is really for someone who might publish a blog once a month and send one newsletter a month. It's also geared to someone who might be that person who is doing a couple of short marketing videos each month as well. So the first section is your content creation and organization. This is where you take time to look at the category of content that you're going to require, and you're actually going to sit down and write your main anchor content. You're going to write that article. And in the same time here, this batch planning we're going to do, you're going to create the content for social media from that article. Now, this is where we like to get you to a place where you do this in 2 to 3 hours a month. It may depend on the kind of articles you're writing. If it's something that involves a lot of research and a lot of back checking and fact checking, then it might take you longer. Most of the time, I see people start with this at about 3 to 5 hours a month. And as you practice and get used to it a little more, that's where you can dial it down and get it to that 2 to 3 hours for creating the one article and the social media content to go with it. The next activity is your images and video creation and organization. So I usually recommend blocking 1 to 2 hours a month for this. If we think about that, you might need 1, maybe 2 at the most new images to use for your marketing content. And I'll be honest, my limit is you create one article, the most you'll ever need is 4 images because you can resize those images in Canva and use them on a variety of places. So you just need 4 images, but you're going to use that magic resize button and create more. Now, I will tell you that by following my practice of using templates in Canva, it helps you not spend a ton of time looking for ideas on what those images should look like. You just might have to take some of the words that you've decided you're creating as an image and put them in your template and create an image. I really like to get people to a place where you're spending 3 to 5 minutes to create these images for your marketing. And I really do mean that. You should not be spending 10, 15, 20 minutes for doing this activity. It just should not take you that long. And that is one of the biggest places where people waste a lot of time. Create some templates, put your words into the template. You might need to add an image or something to go with it. You've got 30 seconds to a minute to find an image that you're going to use as a background on a marketing image, and then you're done. Okay. That is your image creation time. So it might take you, for what you would need of 4 images per article, 30 minutes max to create those and save them and store them in a folder on your computer to use. Now, if we assume that you're going to make maybe 2 short marketing videos, like a reel each month. So for video time, what I always suggest, again, you're going to use the content in the article as the basis for what you're going to say in the video. Doing this will help you get that to a place where you can create 2 reels, take 10 minutes each maximum for them. And that's me giving you some little extra time to do some retakes. If you want to create a longer video, 5-10 minutes, maybe take 15 minutes here. The idea is that you use the content in those videos from your article content, so you're not spending time creating more and more and new content. And as with anything here, you're going to take less time with practice. So you will be able to get that down where you create 4 images for each article, and you can create a couple of videos as well, and take at the most 1 to 2 hours to put those into place. Content distribution is the next activity, and this is where you're scheduling your content to get it posted online. We typically schedule 1 to 2 weeks at a time so that we're not getting far ahead, because you never know when something might change and you need something else in there. But assuming that you can take the content you created already and you can post 1 update every 2 to 3 minutes because it's already prepped, it's already written. You did that in the first activity, the content creation. Let's say that you have, say, 10 posts that you want to schedule for this time. If you block 2 minutes for each one of those, because it's a copy, paste, upload the image, put the time, copy, paste, upload the image, put the time. You really just need about 30 minutes a week to do this kind of work. That helps you do right from log into your account, thinking about what you're doing, looking at the schedule, and then doing the actual activity of copying the content, putting it into your scheduler, picking the time, adding an image, and off you go. Now, some content may need to be posted live, and that may come into the next activity as well, because sometimes stories on Instagram, for instance, I have 2 stories a week that I post. It's part of my schedule, and I like them to have a link with them. So my VA can't schedule them and put a link on it. So these are ones I do live, but I have the content ready. I pull up the link off my website. I copy that. I put up the story from the images that are already saved on my phone where I'm going to use them. I put it in there. I paste the link in there. I put the content that I want on the story. If I'm going to add anything, add a sticker, whatever it might be, and then I post it. When you have the plans in place for all of this that you've created, and this is something we use in the Thrive Marketing Academy and I teach in my article template, it helps you cover all the things that you're going to need to create. And that's how you stay on time with the planning and the creation of everything that you're doing here. So the 4th activity in this list of 5 marketing activities that you're going to look at is community building and networking. And this is where you spend time on your social media channels, aiming, of course, for the ones that are most important to you, where your people are connected, where your ideal client hangs out. And this is where you might be checking for people responding to the stuff you scheduled already and commenting or liking. And it would be you engaging and commenting back to them. It could be also spending a few minutes finding some new connections or sending requests to connect with people. It is not about posting your pre-planned content. It's all about talking to people, engaging with that community you've built on that social media channel. And this is really where this time comes into play with your marketing and spending 15 minutes a day. I recommend that you limit this to 15 minutes here and you think about how often you want to show up online. You don't necessarily have to be there every day. I typically go on a few times a week for this type of activity here. But I plan to be online around the time that I know my content is scheduled. We have a set schedule. I know that, when we're posting on Instagram, we posted a typical type of day or time of the day for each piece of content. Knowing that, I try to plan my live time, my networking time around the same time because it helps the algorithm. If you've got the activity going, your content was scheduled to go out there. And so it can just help you reach some more people and show your content to more people as well. So the time for this is typically about 2 to 3 hours a month when you look at taking 15 minutes, maybe 3 times a week. It doesn't necessarily mean being on every single social media channel unless that's part of your plan. But it's not often I've run into practice owners where they need to be on every single marketing channel to make their marketing work. The last activity here is your tracking and review so you can optimize. This is where you want to use your stats tracking template or whatever you're using to keep track of your results. So this is where you want to be checking what's working and not. You want to review the results you're getting. You want to adjust your tactics. You want to plan out new ideas and strategies. I do have a free marketing stats tracking template that will get you started with this. I will put a link to that in the show notes as well. It comes with a short video on how to use it, but it's a great way to get you started if you're not sure what kind of things you should be tracking with your marketing. So when you use this stats tracker, whether it's this one or any one that you've set up for yourself, and you're using your content planner, you can make sure that you're keeping track of everything and learning what's working or not so that you know if you should change anything for the next schedule and things that you're going to be doing in the next cycle that you've got with the new article. So if you notice that a particular hashtag took off, or if you notice that people really responded to something that you put together that was in a new way of creating that content, you want to do more of that stuff, more of what's working. If you notice that things fell off and didn't get any results, then that might be where you want to look at what can you do to improve it, and is it worth improving as well. Time for this, I usually look at about an hour a month for this type of activity. When you take these 5 activities and put them all together, the average numbers that we're typically looking at here in spending on marketing and social media when it comes to someone who has a business where they do 1 blog article on their website and 1 newsletter a month. Looking at all of this is where it probably takes you around 8 to 10 hours a month. And you probably are going to have to invest some time like this into your marketing if you want to see results. But let's analyze that time a little bit here. In general, I said it's about 10 hours a month, which is, if you break it down to a 4-week month, 2.5 hours a week, which is 30 minutes a day for a 5-day work week. Yeah, that's what I said. An average of 30 minutes a day on marketing, but not all of it is spent on social media. The time that's spent on social media, the community building and the networking time, that live time online, well, that might be about 3 hours or so. Let's break that down. 3 hours at 60 minutes an hour is divided by 4 weeks a month is about 45 minutes a week. You could break that down into 3 sessions of 15 minutes a day. And that time, you have to remember, this is time focused on the main channel where your ideal client hangs out and where your main marketing content and activity is happening, okay? It's not going into every single social media channel because you think that that is where you need to be. If your clients are hanging out on every single channel and are active and are using it all the time, then we can look at that. But I don't often run into that situation unless I'm working with an influencer. And influencer marketing is very different marketing from marketing for a typical private practice owner. So you have to look at, again, what is your purpose for being there? What are you trying to accomplish? If you feel your time is off from these guidelines, from this time that I've given you as an ideal time, if you were someone doing once a month article that goes on a blog and newsletter, then here's what you can do to find out why your time might be off. You can book one of the free marketing audits I offer on the podcast. This is your chance to get 15 minutes with me to find out where you can improve your marketing. We look at whatever your main struggle is that you're having with your marketing. And in this case, we could look at your content, your production, and the time you're spending to try and figure out why you're spending more time than you probably think you need to be. Because if you're booking one of these audits because this isn't matching your time, you probably think you're spending more time doing the marketing than you should be. You can book that free session with me at pepperitmarketing.com/audit, and I'll link to that in the show notes too. What we basically do is we go in my online podcasting studio and we go through what your issues are. You get a chance to tell people who you are, who your business is. So it's a little bit of free marketing for you as well. So if you think you need a little help from that, definitely book one of those audits with me. Now, if you're not ready for that and you want to know what are my action steps from what you've told me here today, Kathy, well, here's a few things that I can recommend you do from these lessons. Number one, look at doing some reviews on your marketing activity and your time. Look at how much time you're spending on these 5 different areas of your marketing plan. So those 5 different areas, you want to think about how much time you're spending on content creation and organization. How much time are you spending on creating your marketing images or videos? And remember, I've got that rule of 3 to 5 minutes max per image. And I really do mean that. Think about how much time you're spending on the actual content distribution. So how much time is it taking you to put that content out on your social media channels every month? How much time are you getting live and online and networking and connecting with your community? And are you even spending any time tracking and reviewing your results? Because I often find people don't do any of that time. So look at these 5 different areas and figure out how much time you're spending on each one. And really get down into the nitty-gritty here and track the amount of time you're spending on social media and what you're doing during that time. So are you doing marketing, or are you scrolling? Are you networking? Are you connecting? Think about that really hard and really be honest with yourself as you track the time and figure out where's that activity going. You want to get a true grasp on the time you're spending on your marketing and what you're doing so that you could be making plans to get this into a more balanced place where you could be like those dream practice owners I've been talking about and spend only 15 minutes on your social media because you've got an effective plan in place. Those are your action steps for today, which is really a lot about doing a time audit on what you're doing with your marketing and your social media, and not just how much time you're spending on it, but what you're doing with that. And if you think you need a little help figuring that out, book one of those free marketing audits with me. If you have any other questions about this lesson or even a topic you want me to consider for the podcast in the future, you can send me a quick voice message at speakpipe.com/KathyC, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes too, as well as any of the other resources I mentioned here. They will all be on the show notes for this episode, and you can find that at marketingyourprivatepractice.com/26. So this is Kathy Colaiacovo, and I want to say thanks for listening in. I wish you a fabulous day. And remember, to thrive in practice, it will start by planning your marketing so that you're not spending all day on social media or getting lost in that endless cycle of marketing. Stop sabotaging yourself and be strategic with your plans and your time. That is the best way you're going to get results from marketing your private practice. I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.